refers to the process of using scientific methods with the aim to produce knowledge about human diseases, the prevention and treatment of illness, and the promotion of health. Medical research encompasses a wide array of research, extending from basic research, also called bench science or bench research, involving fundamental scientific principles that may apply to a preclinical understanding, to clinical research, which involves studies of people who may be subjects in clinical trials. Within this spectrum is applied research, or translational research, conducted to expand knowledge in the field of medicine. Both clinical and preclinical research phases exist in the pharmaceutical industry's drug development pipelines, where the clinical phase is denoted by the term clinical trial. However, only part of the clinical or preclinical research is oriented towards a specific pharmaceutical purpose. The need for fundamental and mechanism-based understanding, diagnostics, medical devices, and non-pharmaceutical therapies means that pharmaceutical research is only a small part of medical research. Most of the research in the field is pursued by biomedical scientists, but significant contributions are made by other type of biologists. Medical research on humans has to strictly follow the medical ethics sanctioned in the Declaration of Helsinki and the Institutional Review Board where the research is conducted. In all cases, research ethics are expected. Medical research involves research in a wide range of fields, such as biology, chemistry, pharmacology, and toxicology with the goal of developing new medicines or medical procedures or improving the application of those already available. It can be viewed as encompassing preclinical research, for example, in cellular systems and animal models, and clinical research, for example, clinical trials. What medical research is and its purpose. Definition: medical research is the systematic process of using scientific methods to expand knowledge about diseases, their prevention and treatment. Goal: the ultimate goal is to improve human health and quality of life by discovering new drugs, procedures, or ways to manage health, such as those for cancer or heart disease. Distinction from medical care: research is different from routine medical care. In research, the primary goal is to answer a question, and it's not guaranteed to benefit the individual participant directly, it could even involve risks. Types of medical research. Basic research: this foundational work includes studies on cells, animals, and molecules to understand the underlying mechanisms of disease and identify potential targets for new treatments. Clinical research: this is research with human participants, which can include testing new drugs, medical devices, surgical procedures, or ways to change health behaviors. Clinical trials: a specific type of clinical research that tests new treatments on human volunteers, following strict regulatory standards. How it works. Methodology: researchers use various methods to collect data, such as having volunteers take medication or complete tasks, and then analyzing that information. Reliability: the success of a study depends on the reliability and validity of its findings, which is why it is crucial for research to be based on a representative sample of the population being studied. Steps: the process is structured and methodical, involving several stages to address specific questions and test hypotheses. Why it is important. Hope and recovery: research provides hope by leading to discoveries that can help individuals recover from conditions and improve their quality of life. Addressing gaps: it helps address gaps in knowledge, such as the gender health gap, and works towards a better understanding of sex differences in health. Saving lives: by discovering new mechanisms and drugs, research can prevent families from experiencing loss due to diseases and is a crucial tool for public health. Impact. The increased longevity of humans over the past century can be significantly attributed to advances resulting from medical research. Among the major benefits of medical research have been vaccines for measles and polio, insulin treatment for diabetes, classes of antibiotics for treating a host of maladies, medication for high blood pressure, improved treatments for AIDS, statins and other treatments for atherosclerosis, new surgical techniques such as microsurgery, and increasingly successful treatments for cancer. new, beneficial tests and treatments are expected as a result of the Human Genome Project. Many challenges remain, however, including the appearance of antibiotic resistance and the obesity epidemic. Phases of medical research. Example areas in basic medical research include cellular and molecular biology, medical genetics, immunology, neuroscience, and psychology. Researchers, mainly in universities or government-funded research institutes, aim to establish an understanding of the cellular, molecular, and physiological mechanisms of human health and disease. Preclinical research covers understanding of mechanisms that may lead to clinical research with people. Typically, the work requires no ethical approval, is supervised by scientists rather than physicians, and is carried out in a university or company, rather than a hospital. Clinical research is carried out with people as the experimental subjects. It is generally supervised by physicians and conducted by nurses in a medical setting, such as a hospital or research clinic, and requires ethical approval. Role of patients and the public. Besides being participants in a clinical trial, members of the public can actively collaborate with researchers in designing and conducting medical research. This is known as patient and public involvement, PPI. Public involvement involves a working partnership between patients, caregivers, people with lived experience, and researchers to shape and influence what is researcher and how. PPI can improve the quality of research and make it more relevant and accessible. People with current or past experience of illness can provide a different perspective than professionals and complement their knowledge. Through their personal knowledge they can identify research topics that are relevant and important to those living with an illness or using a service. They can also help to make the research more grounded in the needs of the specific communities they are a part of. Public contributors can also ensure that the research is presented in plain language that is clear to the wider society and the specific groups it is most relevant for. Research funding in many countries derives from research bodies and private organizations which distribute money for equipment, salaries, and research expenses. United States, Europe, Asia, Canada, and Australia combined spent $265.0 billion in 2011, which reflected growth of 3.5% annually from $208.8 billion in 2004. The United States contributed 49% of governmental funding from these regions in 2011 compared to 57% in 2004. In the United Kingdom, funding bodies such as the National Institute for Health and Care Research, NIHR, and the Medical Research Council derive their assets from UK taxpayers, and distribute revenues to institutions by competitive research grants. The Wellcome Trust is the UK's largest non-governmental source of funds for biomedical research and provides over £600 million per year in grants to scientists and funds for research centres. In the United States, data from ongoing surveys by the National Science Foundation, NSF, show that federal agencies provided only 44% of the $86 billion spent on basic research in 2015. The National Institutes of Health and pharmaceutical companies collectively contribute $26.4 billion and $27 billion, which constitute 28% and 29% of the total, respectively. Other significant contributors include biotechnology companies, $17.9 billion, 19% of total, medical device companies, $9.2 billion, 10% of total, other federal sources, and state and local governments. Foundations and charities, led by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, contributed about 3% of the funding. These funders are attempting to maximize their return on investment in public health. One method proposed to maximize the return on investment in medicine is to fund the development of open-source hardware for medical research and treatment. The enactment of orphan drug legislation in some countries has increased funding available to develop drugs meant to treat rare conditions, resulting in breakthroughs that previously were uneconomical to pursue. Scientific research is an indispensable tool for medical students and health personnel in general, since it favors the development of skills and competencies for decision-making in clinical practice based on a critical assessment of the available evidence, in order to respond effectively to the needs of patients. Recognition of biases, fallacies, and the advantages and disadvantages of undergraduate research are aspects to consider during the training and design of strategies in evidence-based medicine education and medical research. Evidence is not an absolute, but it is the best tool we have in our hands today. Thank you for watching this video.